Picture this, a quiet village in ancient India, disturbed by an unseen terror. Imagine a time of kings and queens, of folk tales and myths, a time where the boundaries between the seen and unseen were blurred. This is a tale from that era, set in a humble village nestled in the heart of the country. The village, once a picture of tranquility, was now a shadow of its former self. A pall of fear had descended, turning the once vibrant marketplace into a ghost town. The villagers, simple, hard-working folks, were gripped by an inexplicable dread. The laughter of children, the chatter of women, the boisterous discussions of men, all had been replaced by an eerie silence. The fields lay fallow, the cattle untended, as people huddled inside their homes, too scared to venture out even in broad daylight. The village was in the grip of a terror unseen, a terror unfelt before. But what could instill such dread in the hearts of these simple folk? The answer lies in the dark recesses of black magic rituals. In the heart of an ancient civilization, a group of misguided scholars sought to harness the power of the cosmos. They were driven by a desperate need for control, for power, and the promise of immortality. With sinister intent, they began to perform a forbidden ritual, one that hadn't been attempted in centuries. Under the shroud of an eerie moonlit night, they chanted incantations, their voices blending with the haunting whispers of the wind, the air charged with an unworldly energy, a sense of foreboding creeping in. They offered sacrifices, their blood merging with the sacred fire, their pleas echoing in the void, begging for power, calling forth an ancient entity. Their intentions were pure, or so they thought. Little did they realize the magnitude of the forces they were meddling with. The ritual was not to invite an entity of wisdom or power, but a malevolent force, a being of darkness and chaos. As the final syllable of the incantation echoed in the night, a chilling gust swept across the ritual site, extinguishing the fire. The scholars had succeeded, but not in the way they had hoped. They had conjured not a deity, but a daitya, a demon. A new form of existence was brought forth that night, a malevolent entity, one that would come to be known as the Brahmadaitya. Thus, the Brahmadaitya was born, an entity of unimaginable power and malevolence. The villagers soon realized the terror that they had unknowingly unleashed. The Brahmadaitya, once a mere whisper in the wind, had become a horrifying reality. This was not some ordinary ghost story told to frighten children. It was a living nightmare, a malevolent entity born of the darkest magic. Under the cloak of moonlight, the Brahmadaitya began its reign of terror. It was as if the very night itself had turned against the villagers. The once tranquil village was now a stage for the macabre dance of fear and chaos. The entity was not bound by the physical world. It could slip through the cracks in the walls, move through closed doors, and vanish into thin air, only to reappear elsewhere. It was a spectre that knew no boundaries, a phantom that could not be contained. It could be anywhere, at any time, and there was no escaping it. The Brahmadaitya reveled in the terror it instilled. It fed off the villagers' fear, growing stronger with each passing night. Its presence was always felt, but never seen. A chilling breeze, a sudden drop in temperature, a flickering candle. These were the signs of its presence, and then the screams would follow. The villagers lived in a perpetual state of fear. Sleep was a luxury they could no longer afford. The nights were filled with dread, and the days were filled with apprehension. The entity had turned their lives into a living nightmare. The Brahmadaitya's reign was not just about physical terror. It was a psychological torment that gnawed at the sanity of the villagers. It was as if the entity was playing a twisted game, pushing them to the brink of madness. In their despair, the villagers turned to their faith, praying for salvation. But even the gods seemed to have abandoned them. The sacred shrines lay desolate, the prayers unanswered. The entity was beyond the realms of the divine, a creature birthed from the abyss of darkness. The village was in the grip of a terror that seemed to have no end. The Brahmadaitya's reign of terror had just begun, and the villagers were left to grapple with the horrifying reality that they were trapped in their own nightmare. The entity was not going to rest until it had drained every last ounce of fear from their hearts. In the face of such terror, the villagers had no choice but to fight. A raw, primal determination gripped the villagers, fueled by the fear for their lives and the lives of their loved ones. Each day they strategized and planned, hoping to find a weakness, a loophole, anything that would give them the upper hand against the Brahmadaitya. They sought the wisdom of the elderly, the cunning of the shrewd, and the bravery of the young. They turned to ancient texts, riddled with cryptic verses and faded ink, hoping to uncover a forgotten secret that could turn the tide. They tried every conceivable weapon, from the sharpest blade to the purest silver, praying that one could pierce the entity's seemingly impenetrable defenses. Yet, their hopes were repeatedly met with failure. Every strategy fell short, every weapon seemed futile. The villagers witnessed their bravest warriors fall, their strongest defenses crumble, and their deepest fears come to life. Despair began to creep in, casting long, dark shadows on their dwindling hope. In the depths of their despair, the villagers realized the magnitude of their adversary. The Brahmadaitya was not just a creature of darkness, but a symbol of their deepest fears and doubts. It was an embodiment of the darkness that lurked within them, waiting to consume them whole. But despite their best efforts, the Brahmadaitya seemed unbeatable. The villagers, once hopeful and determined, now stared into the face of what seemed like an inevitable doom. Their desperate attempts, it seemed, were in vain. And so, the story of the Brahmadaitya remains a chilling reminder of the power of dark forces. This malevolent entity, born from the deepest pits of black magic, continues to cast a shadow of fear and uncertainty across the land. The fate of the villagers is a mystery that remains unresolved, a puzzle piece lost in the annals of time. Did they manage to escape the iron grip of the Brahmadaitya? Or did they succumb to its terrifying reign, their screams echoing into the abyss of forgotten tales? The Brahmadaitya itself, this embodiment of pure evil, remains a spectre, lurking in the shadows of our minds. Is it still out there, waiting, watching, biding its time? Or has it been vanquished, its reign of terror brought to an end by some unknown hero? These questions hang in the air unanswered, leaving us to ponder the mysteries of the unknown. What became of the village and its unseen terror? That, dear listeners, is a story for another time.